Some of you have been asking since the last I did to do another. So I thought today I would do a little kind of landscape inspired style drawing. So I'm going to be drawing a house design for if I in the future ever get rich and can afford to build my own house. So this house design is on top of a property that I'm currently on. So I'll show you the before sketch of how the layout is, and then the sketch that I'm going to be replicating today. So there's a couple of different angles that I want to sketch, but I'm not sure how fast I'll be able to get through it, so I may just do the one sketch of this video, possibly do another in a future video. But first I just want to show you the house design that I have sketched up recently that I'll be following off of. So I'll just change the setup so you can see a bit better. Alright, so firstly, just to show you the sketch that I am basing this off, which I've done recently. I've just got a couple of new books in recent time, so I've been having some fun doing some sketching. Now here we have the house layout that's originally there, and it may be a little bit difficult to see at the moment, but we have at the bottom house, driveway running up to garage, and then shed out the back, garden beds around to the grassy area, and we have what's called a pod, which is like a little section of native growth, or just a section of growth. And what we want it to look like is like this. So we have just again the driveway, but this time going into an indoor carport, then leading out to kitchen, lounge room, the rest of the rooms, then designing a studio out back and all sorts of stuff. But the main image here that I'm going to be copying is this side view of the house. So there's quite a lot going on here. We have the actual house, little garden bed, mini camellia trees I would have planted. But I need to go back this time and put some more effort into the layout of the studio out the back, so that will be the main focus for today. Another thing that I have here as well is the new layout here. So you can see the internals of the house with the garage. I imagine a door leading to a hallway that's a little bit raised, and that goes down into a kitchen slash lounge room, which I want to make a sunken lounge room because sunken lounge rooms are just so cool. I'm not sure why they're not more common these days. And then that original hallway runs around to toilet, bathroom, bedroom, 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 and then sunroom, lounge. Back around at the lounge room slash large kitchen. We'll have a big sliding door leading to outside with an undercover table area. And then over to the right we have a few fruit trees. One thing that I should add is the sun path. So the sun on the property in summer basically goes right over just like that, and then towards winter it gets more and more out further. So the idea is that I want a big open glass house facing towards the sun. In winter, when the sun's a bit lower and it shines through the trees, it looks really pretty, so it'd be a good way to make it feel more sunny and summery in spring. But yeah, that's the basic concept there. So what we want to do now is use the reference of that main drawing for this drawing here. So I'm just going to leave that off to the side so I can follow along. And I'm just going to get my sketchbook here. Alrighty, so this is a brand new sketchbook. I haven't done anything in it yet, so my thoughts are I'll try to use it mainly for ASMR. And if anyone wants to buy any of the artwork over time, I think it'd be nice to send off some original copies for people to have. You might like. So I think rather than doing it in the portrait setting, we're gonna stick to the landscape way. Now, one thing that I do need to get is a ruler so that I can get proper lines and measurements right. Alrighty, so first thing that I want to do is just get the layers and length of the house right. So there's a couple landmarks that I need to put in before I go any further, and one of them is the gum trees that we have in the backyard. So just want to do a little bit of a start for the driveway. Maybe go like that, and then running down. That's a bit too, not quite sharp enough. Alright, that's a bit better. Kind of just kept sinking down. So I'm just running that line across there. Now this sketch, I'm either going to keep it quite messy and just accent with the lines, which is most likely what I'm going to do, or I will neaten it up a little bit with the eraser, but we'll see. Yeah. So that cuts off the side of the driveway. There's the actual house. Runs down, and then the rest of the house runs back there. Alright, cool. So now next to that part that comes down, we have one gum tree. It comes down and splits off, so it's like a double. But that's quite big, it's a bit smaller than that. So that one comes out, some parts coming off, so that's a big one. That's the big one out the back. This is going to be quite a small sketch, relatively speaking. Although on second thought, I think I brought that over a little bit too far. It can be difficult getting things from memory, which is why I have the reference sketch. So let's bring this back a little bit more gradual. And then that's a bit better. That's a bit more. I like it. So now we can do a big one there, and there is another one over that way, so that works out now. Although it's probably a bit more like that. That's the tall main one. Coming out like that. Then we have the smaller one that splits off into a couple. So we'll go out this way. There we go, yeah. Now we'll have the other trees up back here. It's a bit more like that, with the garden bed being sitting there. Alright. Now we have the direction of the land. We just need to get the other parts now. So starting off, I just want to get the foundation level flat, because this will be a crucial part to the property when it's done. So that's flat land, and the driveway up front, just like that. Alright, that's a good starting foundation. So next part that I need to work out is what sort of angle I'm drawing from. Is it an exact side, or is it going to be slightly tilted? And I reckon that the best thing would just be exactly sideways, as there are some parts that are a little bit difficult to get the angle of. So we're going to start with this retaining wall just on the right side here. So I'm going to mark the posts first. So that would be the corner post, and then we'd have those little posts just in there. And I think we should just be a little bit rough with this so it doesn't take too long. But I'm going to go along think we want to do some terracing at the bottom as well. So let's do some of that. It would be like that. Now, because we're doing semi-realism, this flat in the middle is exactly halfway, but any part lower we get is going to be from a slight bird's eye angle, and any part higher we go is going to be from a lower floor angle. So that's one thing that I'll keep in mind. But now I want to actually work on the house. So for reference, what we've just done is this retaining wall here, and then the little steps, and then working out the placement of those trees. So next thing is to look at the actual design of the house. We want to work out how long these parts are. So get on this. So the bedroom, sunroom would be an equal 3-part length, with the garage and kitchen area both also being an equal part length. So we're basically working a 2:3 ratio. So what I can work out now is where the start and end is, and then fill in the rest. So currently that's where the actual garage is, so we'd go down a little bit, be a bit more like a flat, but one thing I haven't thought of is how we would need to dig out a little bit into the ground to have the car come in flat. So I'm just gonna slightly sketch that in just so we can have that in the background, but the main idea is doing this. Now, one thing about the house is that it is going to have a slant to it going backwards from the front. So it means a couple of different things. It means we have to make sure we definitely have the right length for the back of the yard. And if we say that the house comes to about the edge of the garden bed roughly, maybe a little bit more. Let's say it's running to about where the shed is now, so let's go around there just for an idea. This is about 12 centimeters. I could do it in 3s. No, that would give me 4. What am I talking about? 2.5. Roughly there. So that's one there, one there. 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, that's about split even. So one part of the house, or sorry, the center split of the house, and this is where it runs to the backyard being in there. And we're just going to basically find a nice angle for it. Now I want it to be fairly flat in a way, but I think it would be nice for it to run in line with the driveway, maybe slightly less, so let's try something like this. And let's say we want to get the front high enough, so we'll go about there. I think that looks quite nice. Alright, now the actual house itself is not going to have too much on it, so I'm just going to do these slight lines just to give us guidance. One, that one's pretty good already. Two, there we go. Three and four. Alright, so we have a pretty even spread for the walls, and we'll just come out here for the final wall. Just bring that over a little bit. That's quite nice. Like that. Alright. So, because it's a direct side angle, it's a little bit tricky to get any detail of the house itself, so it's basically going to just look like that. But we do need to give the roof a little bit more thickness, so it's coming through like that, because that's a little bit of definition now. Then we're going to do the same thing with these lines, come over a tiny bit. Alright, that is getting there. So now we have the rough house. Ideally, I'd want a fireplace in the kitchen area near the lounge room. So let's also just put a little chimney exhaust. That's a bit large. Alrighty. Just to mistake that from the house a little bit. Okay. Now, next will be placing the studio. We don't want it too close to the house, but we don't want it too far over. I think a good spot would be just about near these steps. Alongside the trees as well, so maybe a bit like a something like that. Now we can just again do another little angle. And this is to match the house design. So we come up just like this. sketching for the tree just to add a little bit of depth there so we can see what exactly we are working with. Just going around like that. Don't need to do too much there, it's not really much of a focus point for this drawing. Drawing trees is something you kind of just have to do without thinking. A lot of the time when you put thought into it, you can kind of miss the point of the tree, if that makes sense. It's not about having the right amount of splits or anything like that. It's just all about feeling. Like, for example, this one I kind of feel like it has a Sideshow Bob kind of look to it, so giving it that sprout out, but this one's more like a hand holding something. There we go. And that's just about all the detail we'll do there for now. We'll come back in and draw up the studio, so just running up to the top there, and again down here, and then up to the top. Then we want to, I did the line on the wrong side. There we go. Now, they could probably be a little bit taller or shorter to give more definition there, but I do like how it looks. So that would be the studio room. And the property line kind of comes up like that, so I'm just going to do a bit of that. Well, actually, it's not quite that short. It is at the edge of the page, so that's okay. I'm just going to come in and now do the shed design, so that would just be really, it's just like an octagonal sort of functional. So and this would just be one of those classic diamond shaped sheds in the corner. Just a little tool shed. Although I think I've made this pretty big. Realistically, the tool would only be about that big. I'll just drop that down. Might just do some angles to it. That's a bit better. It'd just be a little flatter shed like that, unless. Why not? Let's give it some. Some more shape. Actually, that's probably a bit better. Nice. Alright, so let's going to be one of the pot areas, so we need to kind of add in the edge there, and this is where we can have some different trees coming out here. So this will be a kind of either a fig tree or a loca tree or maybe even a frangipani, but I don't think we can grow them where I live. I think it's a bit too cold. We get a lot of frost, so I doubt that it would survive the winter. But anyways, some kind of little tree here. Gourmets and then maybe another couple little big leaf bushes and but then we'll also just kind of using bushes around other little details just to bring some depth into there, and then once we do that we can start doing some shading. So little sketching through here. Just some simple stuff like that. Alright, that's getting there now. So, next part I think I want to do is move over to here and work on the chicken coop, garden entrance, hedges, etc. So, the hedges will be going from there to about a little one there, or maybe a little bit further over actually. Go to the edge there. That extends it out a little bit, and we got what will be the cage here, so about that long. It'll be slightly on an angle, so I'm just gonna put that into. But basically we got the bunch of lines through, just like this, just to give the illusion of netting. That is good enough. Now on the other side I'm just gonna shade in 2 different directions. That's fine. While I'm here, I'm also going to start doing some of these retaining wall slabs. Now those are probably too skinny, it's a bit bigger than that. So let's fix this. I'm just doing a little bit of shading just to give some depth to the field here. I want this all to look pretty smooth because this is the grassland. The lawn down here, I don't know why it's like grassland. But there we go, we run that down there. It'll be pretty smooth. This hill will also be pretty grassy, but more like a native section of growth, little plants and other bits. Alright, so it's looking pretty good so far. There's not heaps that I need to add from here, just a couple little bits. I'm not going to go in detail behind, as I want the actual house itself to be on show. In future I may even go back and do some extra detail in the back there. Alright, so the next thing I need to do is some work over at the garden section. So one thing that there will be is an entrance to the garden way. And that's just going to be a pretty simple double beam, almost Japanese inspired style. There we go. Just in there, give it a little point up there. I'm just going through It'll be made of wood, so it's probably not going to be perfect or anything. I'm sure I'll make it out of some scrap that I got laying around. The next thing is to put in some of the camellia trees that are over this way, as well as some other bushes. So I'm just going to do a super rough sketch for this. Now, one over this way is quite tall, so get one of those. Then we've got another this way, another here, and some of these are also fruit trees that I'll have set up. A couple of little bits. Alright, now that one I'll definitely do some more detail with the pens, with the pen when I get to it. But for now, I just want to do some heavy shading just to give those arms a little bit of depth. Right, that should be right. Now, the only other thing that I do want to put on this is there is a retaining wall out the back that will be built in future, so I'm just going to do a very light line throughout there. And I also might just do some light lines throughout it, just to show that it's a retaining wall. It's getting there. Yeah. This studio is going to have a bit of a layer to the top of it, so I'm just going to put in just like so, a couple of lines as well as make the walls a little bit more defined, a little bit thicker. And now there's going to be a few beams in the top there. 1, 2. I'll put the last one just here. About there. At the bottom of the studio. There's a side angle there. We'll do one and two, just like that. Then we'll make this a little bit thicker. Make this one a little bit thicker on the inside. That's about right. I'm not sure if I want to do. Nah, fuck it. Let's do it. Tiny little bit of shading just underneath the roof there. same over here now. I lost the soft part of the pencil. Just like that, and then put just here. Nothing too dark, just a little bit of shade. Alright, now we're starting to get to the later bits of this drawing, so there's some details I'm going to leave out just because they're not that necessary at the moment. This is more so a imagination of how it's going to look, just house-wise rather than a full replica drawing of the final image. So it doesn't have the background, doesn't have little details around. A lot of this is going to be a little bit raw, a little bit rough. I'm going to do some lines through the tree just to add some definition there. And then also do some shading on that. And one of my favorite things about shading is using it on round objects like trees, and I guess mainly trees is a big one, but otherwise like edges of mountains and hills, and just using those shades to kind of let it pop a bit. This is quite a rough shade. If I was working more thoroughly, I would be focusing on where the direction of the sun is, trying to match that, but for now I'll just do a pretty rough shade, nothing crazy. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of light shade to start off these trees. I'll go over it again at a slightly different angle so it doesn't look like lines, but just to get that darkness filled in. You can kind of just see where these lines want to be from the edge of the what will be leaves. I'm just kind of just working with that. starting to come together, I think I'm going to move on to using the pen to get some final definition. Just all the little details. Alright, now I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. There's not much more that I was going to put in, so I think we might get to doing the pen work now. Just check that everything was focused. For the pen work, doesn't need to be crazy. We're just going to go over the main lines, the main sections that we want highlighted. So obviously the walls of the house, the window edges, the land itself, the trees, and this is where we can come through and kind of fix up any little mistakes or any parts that we're not too sure on. So for example, I wasn't 100% where these bushes would be in front of the house. And now I can go through and just work out exactly where they are and put some little lines through. So I'm just gonna go through just like this. And these camellias that I prune, I keep fairly light and not filled in. So a lot of people who have camellias will keep them as small bushes. However, I kind of like the look of them when they're a bit more spaced out and have more room underneath. Also makes it quite easy to draw. So just going through, doing some of that detail through here. But it doesn't need to be too crazy. We can kind of just put lines at the bottom to make it look like the tree. Alright, now these are in front of the hedge. There's also going to be other bits. So we'll just make sure that there's that space. finish this other camellia here, and then we'll be good to move on. And this is where layering the shading first can help, because, for example, even these nothing looking trees, I can just simply put some lines in and it will completely change the look of it to be a lot more like an actual tree rather than scribbly lines going all over the shop. So just like this. Doing some leveling to it, a bit random. I think that's pretty good. Now, I'm going to come through with the pen and just do a couple of lines here and there. Now this is not going to be exactly perfect, so I'm just going to come through freehand and be a little bit rough, just a little bit. Alrighty, that's looking good. Now I'll come on through this side and make sure we have the defined wall there. I'm just going to do a little bit of detail for the stairs there. Now that looks quite a bit more accurate. I think before it wasn't quite steep enough. Now we got it. Just do a couple lines and then we can have that be for little bushes. Cool. Alright, now I'm gonna just kind of speed run this retaining wall. these lands for the wall of the house behind. Just coming through to that's nice and firm like that. Coming to the edge and going through parts of this tree. Now for this part, rather than doing all those lands, what I want to do is just a couple little highlighted spots, just to give the illusion of netting, although I don't have to actually go through and do all the detail. I reckon that's cool. I'm coming around again for the rest of the yard, and we're just gonna go. I think the next part that would be good to do is these plants through here, so I'm just gonna come through and do some of these. Nothing too fancy, just a little sketching. Just to get the idea. Whatever sort of tree that is. Right, now. Lots of little squiggles here. Just to show you that it's a growth. Sorry, that's a section full of growth. Just about got that there. Well, actually, I reckon that's pretty good. Might just do some. Just a couple of little squiggles around here. Alright, now we got the studio room. And from here shouldn't be too complicated. Kind of did a mistake there, so I'm just gonna do some lines out. There we go. And the stairs all filled in. And then we're going to do the tree behind as well. this one here just so we can have the studio be nice and defined. Alright, so now we can come through and do a few of these legs. Almost done with the studio. Just going to finish off those edges. Cool. Alright, we're just about done here. Just going to do some detail on the shed. Pen kind of struggles to go on the graphite a little bit. Just need some double lines here and there. A bit of a dodgy door there. That's alright. I do want to put some more colour, some more depth into this one. Just like that one too. But I'll do some lines as well. Now we're up to the last stages, so I'll come through and do this hill, and then finally here is the large trees, so I'm just gonna do some very rough little lines here. Again, it does not need to be anything crazy. Just like so. do that line on the back, going across, and then that is basically it. Alrighty. I definitely did not have anywhere near enough time to do another angle, but I think we'll leave it like that for now. Let's do a little bit of... That's it. We're missing a couple of little things, like for example the maybe I like that a bit more messy. Yeah, we're missing a couple of things, like for example the bushes that would be running along the side, but that's okay. I think that looks good. Alright, now I'm just going to sign it off. My signature's always a little bit different each time. But there we are. A landscape drawing of my future home. Just the side angle by Darcy. Alright, thank you for watching this one. I hope that you are able to relax to this, if you just had it on the background or if you used it for sleeping. I hope that you enjoyed it. I will see you again soon. For those curious, I do have another drawing ASMR video you can see. Otherwise, please check out my playlist for more. And I'll catch you in the next one.